I don't think I would have quit the hobby if I hadn't gotten into diversity of fish and plants. But I think it might have gotten a little bit old, a little bit maybe a little bit redundant, or not quite as stimulating or exciting as it has become. And so I really think that adding so much diversity, especially at an older age, where folks are tossing around things like, well, the old dog can't learn a new trick, and just kind of go with what you know and blah blah. It's actually really been good for me to actually get into a variety of fish, plants, and other types of things related to the aquarium hobby. It's changed it. It's kept it challenging, not without frustrations, but certainly it's kept me engaged and interested, and learning and researching and making mistakes and getting corrections, getting corrected, getting advice, good advice, some bad advice, but mostly good advice, and here I am. I mean, let me tell you a little bit what I mean by showing you some of the tanks. I think a lot of folks in the YouTube community certainly consider me still as the African cichlid guy, since that is really how I built this channel, with African cichlids. And it really is a love of mine, and something that hasn't really wavered. I'm still crazy about them, crazy about their shapes, their sizes, the way they behave. Even the aggression is something that is, it's just a challenge. But it was time, I think, really to take a look at something different. And that the first move, if you remember, for those of you who've been following my channel for a while, the first switch was over to South and Central Americans, which I have in this 210 gallon, which was originally intended for the African cichlids, but as the Africans put on size, the 300 seemed like a better idea, especially with some encouragement from James Largo, talking to me about how that trout was going to grow so big. But now that I look at these South Americans, my goodness, they're massive. Look at the size of this Oscar and this Vieja. I'll give you a little more light here so you can see them better. The colors on that fish. Salvini, beautiful fish. Jack Dempsey. So this was a really interesting idea. I mean, I hadn't put wood in an aquarium, only because it's just not something you normally do with African cichlids. So the idea of getting wood, harvesting wood, cleaning it, and putting it into the tank was all part of this adventure. Learning about these fish, the differences between males and females, which are very simple in the African cichlid community. I mean, the males have the color, the females don't, but among these fish, I mean, like in the case of the Salvini, I think the female is much prettier than the male, with that red in the belly. So it's a little bit of a different game here with these types of fish, which had to be learned. The whole idea of a dither fish, that was kind of a new thing to me as well. Then adding this guy here, I mean, I really didn't even know what a red tear was. I learned to appreciate caves, adding caves to aquariums, and then seeing who actually uses them has been pretty interesting. Like that Salvini is really into caves, and this one loves never being too far from his cave. Perhaps one of the biggest learning experiences has come from having to learn about plants. What happens when you first put them into an aquarium, the sort of melt back that occurs, the battle for nutrients between brown, black algae and your plants, and how you ultimately overcome that by establishing the plants and having the plants be the sort of apex predator when it comes to phosphates, ammonia, nitrates. And when that happens, when you turn that corner, all of a sudden the black algae more or less melts, disappears, and you end up with some very good plants. And of course, it helps to start off with good quality plants. I got these from the aquarium co-op, and I've recently added some hornwort that is grown locally over at the Aquatic Critter, and that's been a nice addition. I love the way the hornwort looks and sort of frames the tank. And it's doing a lot of the filtering, a lot of the duties. And as a result, the fish look great. You look at the color on that EBA, electric blue Ochart. Look at the color on the neons, on the rummy noses. Look at the noses on the rummy noses. The plants, I think, are helping to make this just a real rock solid tank. This tank here has forced me to learn about something I didn't necessarily want to learn about, which is hole-in-the-head disease. The more people I talk to, the more I find out that geos are not necessarily that immune to it. Apparently, it's not that uncommon with geos. As you can see, I'm still battling it, but have it under control. It's starting to scale back, more or less disappeared from the AC hecali. As you can see right here, the hecali can't even really tell anymore. So he's gotten really a lot better. Again, ditherfish, in this case Buenos Aires tetras, that were moved over from the planted aquarium because they were destroying the plants in there. So now they can munch on these plastic plants. This aquarium has also forced me to learn about UV, and I have a UV green killing machine in the back corner there, and that's contributing to this great water quality that you see here, but never a dull moment. Another tank that has gotten me really enthused is this little Livebearer tank. This is just a little 20-gallon rimless from my friends over at Glass Cages in Dixon. And again, you see a lot of water sprite and hornwort that is helping a lot of these little babies to make it. If you can make them in there, make them out there. There's lots of babies up there, and got some cories in here, a pleco, some guppies, some platies, mollies, and a few snails. Some fish is always about to pop in here. And from time to time I'll throw a few more in there. This tank also got me into sponge filters, which I had never really been using before. You can see a little baby there pecking on the sponge filter. That's one of the advantages of sponge filters. They capture food, which is then eaten off the sponge filter, as opposed to the food just going into your filter. Another tank that's actually gotten me really forced me to learn has been this tank here. And this is the Betta Penthouse, and the Betta is hiding here up there in the plants. There he is. Keep some better lighting. Better lighting. Just a beautiful fish. One of my favorite all-time bettas. Just picked him up out of a cup at like a Petco. He was very pale, but I saw a lot of potential. I kind of wanted to have a Dumbo. Got this red floating lily here, just absolutely beautiful. Someone mentioned that I could put it in the ground, but it does okay. It seems to be thriving floating, so I'm going to leave it up there because the Betta plays in it just like he plays in the Sprite. And I'll probably be adding a little bit of hornwort to this as well. At first he was messing around with this Betta log, but doesn't seem to go into that much now. We're facing off. He's showing me who's boss. Come on, dude, you got a 29-gallon aquarium. That's pretty good for a Betta. I don't think you need to go after me so hard. Anyway, there's some plecos in here and some coolie loaches. I am using some of those leaves, almond leaves, that I get from the Aquarium Co-op. And these also are Aquarium Co-op sponges. You can see there in the back. We've got a couple of them. And they're being run by one of those Aquarium Co-op lithium battery two outlet pumps, so that in the event that there's a power outage, it doesn't really matter. It'll keep running for a couple days. Of course, the Betta goes to the surface and gulps air like your Cory cats do. So if you had a power outage and surface tension breakup stopped, right, you'd probably still be okay for a while. Another thing that forced me out of my comfort zone and scrambled my brain a little bit was learning about sumps, sump filtration, and everything that goes into sumps, from the plumbing, the pumps, head pressure, things that, you know, I just would never think of. And one-way valves, hard plumbing, vinyl tubing, vinyl plumbing, and overflow boxes, you know, cutting pipe, and unions. These things are called unions, and all the things involved in putting together a sump. That kind of got me to think outside the box, and I think was really good, a real good step for me. And of course, canister filters will shake things up a little bit if you're not familiar with them, but not as much as a sump will. All these things I've shown you have really helped to keep me on my toes, keep me engaged, forcing me to learn, and those are all real good things, especially I think when you get older and you start to get kind of a little stuck in your ways and used to doing things a certain way. It's really good, I think, to just sort of shake things up a bit and force yourself to get immersed in new ideas and new concepts. So I think that adding all these different things and the diversity has really it's just added a lot of excitement, enjoyment, and certainly years to my participation in fish keeping. So at any rate, thank you all for your ongoing encouragement during this journey. A lot of the success that I've experienced and the overcoming of setbacks has been with your help. All right, and I appreciate that greatly. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.